All right, guys, we're gonna try this live stream again. The first time I didn't set some things up right, and luckily one of my buddies, Travis's from Trayfish Aquatics, he messaged me, let me know, hey Tim, that's not working out quite the way you want it to. So we're gonna try again. So today I am celebrating my 40th birthday. And so I figured in order to celebrate, it would be a great idea to do my very first live stream. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this thing, and that we can get a better chance for you to get to know me and we can interact a little bit. So if you guys have questions as we're kind of sitting around chatting, let me know in the comments. Just let me know if you have any questions or comments as we're kind of talking about. I thought today would be kind of a good day to kind of reflect on where I'm at in the hobby, and how I got here since I am celebrating my birthday. And so for me, I started in the hobby, and I shouldn't. My first experience was as a very young kid, probably the same as a lot of people who are going to be joining the live stream. You started your hobby with fish keeping as a kid. And a lot of times we have no idea what we're doing with fish tanks. And my family was no exception. They didn't really have a whole lot of experience keeping fish, and especially because it was me and my older sister. And so she went out and bought one of those octagon column tanks. It's probably like 10 gallons. And we went to the fish store and we went around and we looked at just some of the different fish there. And of course, I was probably only about 5 at the time. Thank you, Carrie, for the happy birthday. I was only about 5 at the time, and when I remember going through and looking at fish, I said I want a shark because I was 5, and I didn't have any idea what fish were out there. And I have no idea what we got. I know it had shark in the name. Whatever that fish was, I have no idea. And that fish managed to last for a few hours because we didn't set up the tank right. We had no idea what we were doing. And it was a complete failure in fish keeping. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate to that as well. That fish experience, that first experience was a failure. Um, that was my first time trying to do it and not really having any idea. Now, as I got a little bit older and I was in college, I decided to go ahead and get started on trying to keep a fish again. And I remember me and my buddy, we went down to our pond at our college and we had a little trout net, and we went and took some bread and threw it in the lake there, and some fish came and started swimming. We just took a trout net and scooped up a fish. And I don't remember exactly what it was. It was some kind of little sunfish. I don't know if it was a bluegill or what. But I remember bringing that back to the dorm and setting up a 10-gallon tank that was in the dorm just laying around. And it had a filter and a 10-gallon tank. I thought, yeah, that's all you need. Great. And put the fish in there. I was like, man, this is really cool. I think I need some more fish because this guy's probably lonely all by himself. Let me go and get some other things at the fish store, maybe some decorations and some other fish. And I went to the fish store and looked, and my buddy and I saw all kinds of pretty girls there. So we're like, yeah, the fish store is a place to be. And we went through the fish and we just like, yep, I want one of these and one of those. And oh, that one's cool looking. And so just picked out random fish, no idea what we were doing. Yeah, Chris, so I do use CO2 in this aquarium, and it's actually a little bit off right now because I had CO2 run out and it was out for about 2 weeks. So I actually have a little bit of an algae buildup at the moment, but it'll get back on track here pretty quickly. But like I was saying, with going to that fish store and picking out some fish, no clue what I was doing still. And unfortunately, I killed a lot of fish. But in that process, I decided I didn't want to pay for a lot of money to feed my fish. I wanted to figure out a better way. And so I thought, fish eat fish. So I wonder what kind of fish you can breed really easy and really cheap. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And so, of course, I started Googling because at that point there wasn't YouTube. I couldn't go to YouTube and learn about it. You had to go on Google, and I don't even know if it was Google. We were probably still using like Yahoo or something. But started checking it out, and I went to a forum and said, "Oh yeah, you can breed guppies. They're like the rabbit of the fish world." I said, "Oh yeah, breeding guppies. That's what I'm going to do." And so I started breeding guppies in my wife says Ask Jeeves. And maybe that's what I had. Maybe it was Ask Jeeves that I did. That was another one of those search engines you could use back then. But I went on there and I started doing just breeding these guppies. And I learned all kinds of stuff. Now, my original tank, where I had way too many fish and they didn't go together, and I didn't have a heater, and I didn't know you needed a heater. And unfortunately, pretty much all those fish died right away. But in the process, I started breeding guppies and really enjoying fish and learning about them. And I found out like a guppy, well, you feed those baby fry and they'll eat until they're full, and then 20 minutes later they're hungry again. I was like, are you kidding me? How do I feed fish every 20 minutes? That's crazy to me. And obviously you don't feed them every 20 minutes, but it is one of those, like, that was cool to me. I was like, man, that's neat. Like something you can have in your own dorm room, and you can breed in there in this little box. And so I had a 5 gallon, a 10 gallon, and a 20-gallon fish tank in my dorm room, and I was enjoying my guppies. And unfortunately, I killed those other fish. But that kind of got me back into the hobby, or really, that was my initial steps into the hobby, was there in my dorm room. And I remember the year after I got home, or I got out of college, I moved back home for about 3 or 4 months, and I got my dad a 55-gallon fish tank for Father's Day. Hey, you can come say hi. If you guys here, come over to this side, it'll be easier. Okay. If you guys have watched my channel at all, this is my son Ian. I'm actually Tim, and I know our channel is called Ian's Fish Room. That's because Ian does some of the videos with me. And when we first set up some of the fish tanks in our house, we had more fish tanks in his room than any other room. So how many fish tanks do you have in your room right now?
3.
3 fish tanks in his room right now.
Wasn't the original 2?
Originally you had 1 10-gallon. I think that was before we started our channel.
And then you made the stand,
and then we kept
the channel
going bigger. But right now Ian actually breeds guppies, which is kind of cool. So I started with guppies. Now he breeds guppies in his bedroom, and we sell them to the local fish store along with some shrimp and some plecos, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you like breeding fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's nice to watch them.
It is cool to watch them, isn't it? All the colors and stuff.
It's like when you're about to fall asleep and you're just like, oh no, I can't fall asleep. So you just look at the fish and then all of a sudden you just droop.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely is something enjoyable about watching fish. But anyways, Ian, you better get to bed because it's getting late.
Yeah.
Can you say bye to everybody?
Goodbye.
So that was kind of my first stepping in back into the fish hobby, was doing that with the guppies and enjoying those. And it's something I've been able to enjoy with my son. Now I've had lots of other fish tanks since then. Like I said, that first year home, that couple months, I bought my dad a 55-gallon fish tank, and I remember looking at that thing being like, man, that thing is massive, and just loving watching the fish swim from one side to the other. Now this behind me is a 75-gallon tank, and I still enjoy just sitting back, watching a community aquarium, watching them go ahead and swim across the tank. And like even up here, I love this. Like this is one of those things that I've got 8, I think 7 or 8 Siamese algae eaters in this tank, and watching them kind of group together and swim together, there's just something so cool about that community of fish. And so yeah, definitely something I really enjoy. But anyways, back to kind of my looking at back at, that was my early 20s that I started getting into fish, and keeping fish, and keeping them off and on. That for is I guess when I really started getting into the hobby a little more. And a lot of times I would start tanks and I'd have them for a little while, and then I'd move. And so I'd have to like break the tank down, give fish away, give the tanks away, and things like that. And in the first couple years that my wife and I were married, I was married at 26, and we moved, oh, I want to say 5 or 6 times in like the first 5 years. And so trying to keep fish tanks up when you're moving constantly is very difficult. So I end up giving away a lot of fish tanks to either family members. I know some of them got donated to a school, where I actually went to school growing up, and they used it in their science room. But now I've been here for several years. And when I started getting back into the hobby a lot more, really getting into more in-depth stuff and keeping different types of fish, was probably about 3.5, 4 years ago. And I'd started off with telling my wife, like, I think I want another fish tank. It had been probably about a year or 2 since I'd had a fish tank last. And she kind of looked at me, she's like, Tim, like, you've done this before. Like, how long are you really going to? Oh, yeah. And there's my wife complaining about the one time I spilled a tank and all the fish water in her car. She wasn't happy with that. Complained about it for years, actually. Every time her car got like humid, she always told me it smelled bad. But, it was 3.5 years, 4 years ago. My wife said, do you really want to get back in? We've done that. We've had fish tanks. And it's kind of one of those things that she wasn't real sure about it. But I said, you know what, I really think I'll enjoy this. I really do enjoy fish. And so we set up a 56-gallon tank in our living room, and I was really enjoying that tank. And my wife was seeing that I was taking a little bit more care of it than I had in the past, and I was doing more plants than I used to do, getting into more fish, learning more. And so we started kind of building from there. And so the one day she came home, and I had set up a 10-gallon tank in my son's room, and I didn't really say anything to her, but I said, well, Ian saw the 10-gallon empty. He decided he wanted one in his room. I thought, it's okay, no big deal. And then that one fish tank became two fish tanks, and that became three fish tanks. And so now we have several fish tanks in the house. And my wife enjoys the fish tanks, but doesn't want any more in the house at this point. And not that we have a ton of them. Right now we have 7 tanks set up, and I find the numbers are always kind of changing. If For anybody who's been in the hobby for a while, you're probably in that same boat. You start off with 2 or 3, you get up to, I'd like to get up to like 20 or 30, and then you drop back down to, something else. And it's always, that number's always changing. But right now we have 7 tanks set up. I'm sure at some point I'll convince my wife to have another one set up somewhere, or she'll convince me to take another one down. But right now, yeah, we have number of different tanks, but mostly what we keep is community fish. And Travis says at least 5 more, and I agree. At least 5 more is probably necessary. The problem, Travis, is I don't know where I'm going to put them. That my wife isn't going to notice them right now. So, but I'm sure we'll have some more at some point. But what I'm looking at and what I enjoy doing right now is community aquariums, and especially a lot of community fish. I love plants. And I enjoy truly trying to set up tanks that are really pleasing to the eye. So this is, I know somebody mentioned earlier, they really enjoyed this tank and asked me about whether I had CO2. And I do have CO2 in this tank, but this is not one that is, it doesn't need CO2 in here. You could do all of these plants without CO2. The reason I put CO2 in this tank is because where I'm at, I get a lot of phosphates in my water. And so I have a pretty high light on here. It's just a cheap shop light that I got at Walmart, but it's a 5,000-watt shop light, or 5,000-watt equivalent shop light. And so it's a fairly bright light. And what I was finding is, because I had enough light and there's a pretty good amount of phosphates in our water, that I needed to add CO2 just to kind of regulate. Now, I'm not doing a lot of CO2 by any means. It's a very slow amount of CO2, but it's enough that kind of keeps that the plants all growing nicely without the algae buildup. And it makes sure that I am using all of the light I have and all of the phosphates I have in the aquarium. So that is what I'm doing with this aquarium here. If you haven't seen my channel, I would really appreciate, like I said, today is my 40th birthday. And as a present to me, if this is the first time you're watching, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, because that would be an awesome present. I'm closing in on that 1,000 mark. And for anybody who does YouTube, 1,000 subscribers is a big deal. That's when we get to start to monetize. So I'm getting close. So do me a favor, and absolutely hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And that can be your birthday present to me, as I'm celebrating 40 years. Even though, again, I'm not 40 quite yet. I have about 2 more hours before I turn 40. So I'm still enjoying my young 30s. Anyways, so I've got this fish tank. I've got another 75-gallon tank that we have in my son's room. That's our two biggest tanks are 75 gallons. I would love to have a much bigger tank, and someday I will have a much bigger tank, but probably not for a while. Hi, Anton. Thank you. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Anton. Thanks for joining us. And I hope everybody's hit that thumbs up button, and that way this live stream can be spread to some other people, and just so they can enjoy. So, I mean, right now we're doing pretty good. We got 6 viewers and 6 thumbs up. I guess I can't complain about that. So I've got 275 gallons. This one is completely done. I'll be making changes to it, just like any other fish tank. I'm actually going to be planning on pulling out some of my smaller nano fish. I've got some different things, and the fish tank here is probably not like, oh, hey, all these fish go perfectly together. Because I've got some fish in here that like warmer water and some that like some a little bit cooler. Nothing crazy. I mean, they all are pretty comfortable at 78 and pretty comfortable with the water parameters here. But I'm actually going to pull out some of my smaller fish in here. So there are, uh, and you probably can see there's some celestial pearl danios in here that you're swimming around, somewhere in the middle of the tank a lot of times. There's some neon tetras, and I'm going to actually start pulling a lot of those out of this tank, and they're going to go into a 40 breeder, and I'm going to make this more of a true rainbow tank. So right now I have these Bosemani rainbow, which I absolutely love the Bosemani rainbow. You can see they've got some gorgeous color in them. They're really nice looking fish. But I'm going to start looking at trying to get some other rainbows in here. And I do have these fork tails. Some people will call them a fork tail rainbow. They're really a Suna McGill. They used to be called a fork tail, no longer, but they'll stay in there. But I also have some other things in here that um, we'll be moving shortly into a 40 breeder that I have in my own bedroom. I am, like I said, Ian, we started the fish room in Ian's room with 3 tanks. Well, now I have 3 fish tanks in my bedroom, and much to my wife's chagrin, I think a lot of times she'd rather the fish tanks and not be in the bedroom, but she doesn't want them in this room either, in the living room. So I don't know where she wants me to put them. I need to have a few more tanks. Thank you for the happy birthday, Sean. I appreciate that. So we will be making some changes here, adding some more rainbows. Let me know if you guys are into rainbows, like what rainbows you think I should add to this, um, because it is one of those. There's so many cool rainbows out there, and if you haven't gotten into rainbows, I'll tell you what, go check out some of the gorgeous rainbow fish that are out there. And I think mine are a pretty good example, and hopefully they come across well on camera because they are just a cool fish. And it's one of those fish that depending on how they're swimming, they look different throughout the day. Sometimes they're going to be a lot brighter than other times. Sometimes they're going to be, darker and a little more mutant color. But I've got some pretty nice ones I got from a breeder. You're definitely going to do a lot better with your rainbows if you get them from a breeder versus getting them, at your local PetSmart or something like that. Anyways, I don't know when this tank's going out. It's probably going to go out pretty soon, which is I probably should have planned that a little bit ahead and adjusted my time for it. But that's, oh well, that's what it is. Thank you again for that birthday. I want to show you guys a couple things I got for my birthday. So the first thing I wanted to show you is this little net right here. This Ian got me this, and this is one of my favorite fish nets ever. And you might think like, are you kidding me? That thing is tiny, and it is. I first saw this little fish net on Jadron Aquatics. I want to say is how you say his name. He's got his own little fish channel. What is so great about this is especially for me because we keep guppies and we sell guppies. Guppies are pretty easy fish to catch, but having a really small net like this is awesome because you can like just get one and that's all you want. And guppies are dumb. Like they'll come to the surface for you and be like, "Oh yeah, hey, catch me. I'm right here." Anyways, what's really cool about this net though is that it actually is like telescopic. It's a pretty good sized net here for yeah, Jadron Aquatics. There you go. Thank you, Travis. But this is a pretty good size length here, and it is really helpful for catching those guppies or for baby fish. I love this because if you're trying to use like bigger nets, you know, it, trying to get baby guppies is almost impossible. I know some people do it with like little droppers and things like that. I prefer using a little net, and this works really, really good. And it is definitely one of those pieces. Like I already had one, but I like it so much that I wanted another one because I know like the other one eventually is going to rust out, and I'm not going to want to go without one. So my son got me this for my birthday, which I'm very, very thankful for. And I'll leave a link down after this goes off, just to be able to show you guys, where you can get them because this is a really handy net, especially if you keep nano fish or you're keeping like shrimp. For me, I don't know something about my shrimp. They seem to be like drawn to white. I don't know. I find oh yeah, there goes the light on my fish tank. Let me turn that back on real quick, guys. All right, there we go. Back on. Um, But anyways, at least for me, my cherry shrimp, I use like a filter sock over my siphon when I'm doing it, and it's white. And for whatever reason, my cherry shrimp like could go to that thing immediately, and maybe they're eating off of it. But I find even with this, like all the time when I'm doing like catching my cherry shrimp, that this is another great thing for them to catch them. It's nice and small, it's easy to maneuver. So I really do like this. The other thing that I got for my birthday that I wanted to show you guys. Now, this is not something that is necessarily really a fish keeping thing, but something I think that every fish keeper could use, and that is a pocket knife, right? Because how often are we cutting things, whether that is airline tubing or anything like that? And here's this is a Kaiser. It's a Chinese knife, but they make really nice quality knives. And before I started getting into um, back into fish keeping, and I'd already thought before about doing a YouTube channel. I think again, most people who do YouTube channels probably have thought about doing it a number of times before they've actually started. And I used to consider doing one on pocket knives. And this is one of those pocket knives that like I absolutely love. I think it's really cool. But Ian got me that for my birthday as well. So he did well. My wife got me some stuff too, but it's not nearly as exciting. To like play with and to do stuff with. Like she got me a shirt and some books, and that's cool. I'm gonna enjoy that shirt. I'm gonna enjoy those books. But the fishnet and the knife are fun to play with. And I say Ian got me those because that's what he picked out of the things my wife bought and said, yeah, I'm giving that and that to dad. But really, thank you to my wife because she got me those things. So if you guys have any questions about any of the fish I'm keeping in here or anything like that, let me know. I probably won't go real long with this live stream because I'm going to have to get up early in the morning to go to work. But I at least wanted to drop in and do this live stream, kind of just spend some time for the first time going live, celebrating my 40th birthday, and just kind of giving you guys an opportunity to interact with me. Um, my wife says I should get some Australian rainbows and threadfins. This is one of the things I love about having a fish tank is if I'd asked my wife 3 years ago, like, hey, what fish do you think? She wouldn't have even answered me. She wouldn't have cared. She didn't like fish. And now I'm getting her to go and like search things about fish, even though she tries to pretend she's not into the hobby, that she really doesn't enjoy it. The reality is she loves the hobby. And she loves looking at my fish tank, and she loves the fact that I have fish in here that breed and that hide and that you can't ever see. Anyways, yeah, if you guys do have any suggestions, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Uh, as far as the other tanks, oh, look, here's my, you want to come say hi?
No.
Come on, come say hi. If you're going to walk out here. Look, here's my beautiful wife. She's kind of tired. All right, so you didn't even say hi. You just showed your face.
Hi.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
I just heard you say that I like this.
You
thing.
love the hobby, and you want me to get a bigger tank.
Yeah.
I just like to feed them and watch them go on a feeding frenzy.
Yeah, she likes feeding
And
frenzies.
touch
And
them. Don't forget.
all right, you two get out of here. Anyways, go to bed. The other tanks we keep, we have a couple of guppy tanks that have shrimp in them. We have another. It's I wouldn't say it's a black water tank as much as it's a tank that has lots of tannins. I have some a tank in my son's room. It's that 75 gallon that would put some Mopani wood in there. And if you guys have ever had Mopani wood, like that just puts out tannins. And I was warned that hey, that's what's going to happen. And I was like, well, that's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely love the Bosmani, and I've actually bred these, so they're just starting to grow up a little bit, but yeah, they're really cool fish. But anyways, what we're gonna do with that tank is probably eventually turn that into a barb tank. It looks like it'd be a soft water tank because those tannins are in there all the time, but we're constantly changing water. And I think it'll do well for the barbs. I think that'll be a pretty awesome tank for them. And then I have, some extra tanks. Basically, I've got some grow out tanks. I've got the 20 gallon that's grown out some of these Bosemani. I've got the 40 gallon that we're starting to turn into more of a nano fish aquarium. And then I have a really small 5.5 gallon that I did with lava rock and some shrimp, and just getting that started as well. So, I've been changing a lot of things around. I did a video. If you guys are interested in seeing some more of that stuff, I did do a video on my channel not too long ago, a tour of our fish room and checking out all of our tanks and plants and that kind of thing. And I talk a lot more about what's in each one of those tanks specifically. But that's kind of where we're at with the hobby right now. Just enjoying our fish, enjoying the time with my son, and doing the hobby with him. That's one of the things I enjoy about doing the hobby. Is it's something that I've kind of been able to do with all of my family. My son is 10 years old, and as I'm celebrating 40, I'm realizing how quickly life goes by. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that I was 20, and somehow I got to 40 already. And my mom said to me, she said that it's just going to get faster. That 40 years old is going to quickly become 80. So the question is, what do I feed the Bosemani rainbow? So I feed a lot of stuff to my Bosemani rainbow. I like to feed Daphnia. So freeze dried Daphnia is one of the things I like to feed. I like to feed some of this. Now, you guys, you may not be real familiar. This is Dr. Baslier's, and hopefully I said that right, biofish food. This one is called aloe, and I don't know, what exactly it is, but let me read kind of the composition for it. And they have a lot of fish like this, but the composition here is fish and fish byproducts, cereals, oils, fats, crustaceans, vegetable byproducts, yeast, minerals, and aloe vera, and that is it. And so for a list of ingredients, that is a pretty short list for this stuff. And for me, this is definitely one of those foods that I like to use fairly often. Now, there's only one place that I know of, and there may only actually be one seller in the United States for this stuff, and that is a guy by the name of Keith at KGE Aquatics. Again, I'll link his stuff down at the bottom too, in case you are interested. I've been using that fish food for a little bit. I use it here. I use it. I've got an office aquarium. I didn't even talk about that at all. Again, you can see that in my kind of fish tour video. But I use that quite a bit to feed fish. And I have some different types of that. He has all kinds of different of these fish foods. Another one that I use, and this is kind of that. This is definitely not the highest end food out there by any means, but it's a good one to kind of mix in as long as you're doing a variety of food. I think that that's important. But I also use these Tetramin, the tropical granules. Again, not necessarily the best fish food out there, but it is one that I feed them. I also do a lot of frozen foods. So, and again, I mix it up because I have a community tank. There's a lot of different things I'm at throwing in there. So I do, frozen bloodworms, frozen Daphnia, frozen brine shrimp. I also feed live brine shrimp sometimes. Like if I'm really trying to get fish to breed, or if I have a lot of babies that I'm growing out, I do a lot of live foods. To me, I think live foods are probably the best food that you can use. There's another, I do a can of, let me get it real quick. It's something I keep in the fridge. This Zoomed Cano Cyclops. This is another food that I think is really pretty good, and I'll show you guys. I actually fed this already to him once today. Now the thing with this food is if you're not having like multiple fish tanks, I don't think I would use this food. I would like to, but I think it's one of those like it comes in. Well, let me just show you first. I know now they're all like, "Hey, you're going to feed us." It is like a kind of a pasty, messy, like baby food kind of stuff. So it's kind of gross. But it seems to be really good for the fish and work really well. But the problem is, once you open the can, you kind of want to feed it all pretty quickly. So you're only looking at feeding them for about 5 days with this stuff, and then you gotta throw it away. So if you only have like one tank, probably don't want to go with this stuff. But I feed this to pretty much all of my fish, as I'm feeding. So this can right here cost me $5. So if you're gonna spend $5 and you're only getting 5 days, just know it is an expensive food. But let me go put this back in the fridge. So yeah, that's are some of the foods, and I think more important than I shouldn't say there. I've actually done some videos. Like you can go back and look at a video I did on feeding your guppies, and I did a lot of time spent talking about what to feed your fish. And even for these guys, like I can throw in some of those fish that some of those foods that necessarily aren't meant for these type of fish, and they'll eat it up and it's good stuff. Like I use some Rapashi bottom scratcher or Rapashi morningwood because I have some plecos in here, and really all of my community fish seem to enjoy those types of foods as well. Or putting in green beans. If you use like the cut green beans, French cut green beans are great for your plecos, and they'll love those. Well, so will the other fish, and I think the important part is giving them a variety of things because it's going to help them digest food better. You're going to get better color out of them. I enjoy using a lot of stuff that has krill in it, so I might use some krill flakes. Now, flakes aren't my favorite food to use. They can give you problems if that's all you're feeding, but I also use pellets and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things there, that go. Last year, purchased a 1950s. Oh, look at this. So I do still have that. Um, I missed the chat there. If I bring it back, anyways, yes, I still actually do have that tank. It is actually sitting over, like right over that way, and I haven't actually set it up. So I cleaned it out. I was going to reseal it, but when I started looking into how do I reseal this tank and what can I do with it, what I found is that the stuff they used originally for, you can heat that up, and at least 50 years ago you could heat that up when they started to leak, and it'll actually reseal itself. And so as I was getting ready to reseal it, or think about resealing it this year, I started doing more research on it, and I decided, before I actually try to reseal it, because it's going to be a little bit tricky to reseal. So before I try to reseal that tank, I'm actually going to take it out and put hot water in it. Now, it is too cold outside right now to do that, so I can't do that right now, but I will be taking that out once it gets warmer, and just seeing. Like I said, I don't think it's going to actually work on holding that seal, because I think that whatever that sealant was that they used, it's almost like a tar almost. Then that probably won't work. Actually, I'm gonna go grab it because probably some people don't know what you're talking about as far as that old fish tank style. All right, so what this is it's an old Metaframe tank. You can kind of see, for anybody who's been in the hobby for a long time, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but they're not made anymore. But they've got this metal frame around them. They have a slate bottom on it, and then they have, yeah, like I said, it's almost like a tar basically. And I'm sure there's another right term for that, sealant, whatever it is. So I'll try that. If that doesn't work, then there are some different sealants that I can use, or at least I can try to use on it. The problem is trying to seal slate and glass, and knowing that there's going to be other stuff underneath is going to be a little bit trickier than I first realized. But I'm going to try. If that doesn't work, what you can do is you can actually remove the slate bottoms, get a glass bottom made for it, and then basically build a new tank from those old Metaframe ones. So that is something I really like this tank. I think it's gonna be really cool looking, but I haven't gotten it done yet. So hopefully, one this summer I'll find a hot day and add some hot water and see what happens. Yeah, I know, and I've talked to Travis. He said, yeah, the product he thinks that will seal that up really well, and I'm thinking you probably do too, Travis. I was almost thinking probably that sealant you used on your 300-gallon on the bottom there would probably be a good option for it. The nice thing about the meta frames and being able to seal that tank is because that metal frame is on the corners, like you don't have to just be like, oh, I'm limited to a certain type of sealant. It can be the ugliest sealant ever, and it's not really going to matter because that frame is there anyways. It's going to hide it a little bit. And so yeah, we'll see how that works out for me. I am looking forward to it though. I think once it's done, it's going to be a cool tank. Now, I don't know what in the world I'm going to do with it, because I was thinking about, like, I don't like glow light tanks typically, but I almost feel like a glow light tank might be really cool in a Metaframe tank, because it almost brings back that like old school vibe, And so I'm gonna have to redo the light on it anyways. But if I put on like a black light on there, and actually do like glow light Tetras, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the glow light fish. Normally I wouldn't even think about doing that, but in this tank, like it almost seems like it would fit. So if somebody else has a different idea for a cool idea for a meta frame tank, let me know. But that is kind of one of the things I'm thinking about is doing that. So I'm awesome that you're watching the channel. I'm glad I could kind of update you on where I am with that tank. And like I said, it sits in my living room and I think about it all the time. Think, man, I can't wait to do something with that. It's just a matter of what do I do with that. So yeah, still got that one. Now, I don't remember where I was at. So if you guys do have any other questions, let me know. Oh, I was talking about fish food. Um, yeah, Chris, I definitely have thought about like, okay, what would it look like in the 50s and what would I do with it? Like I have thought maybe like, okay, do I can go and try to find like some of those I forget what they called, like some of those old school guppies though, before they started doing like all the crazy fancy guppies they have now. Kind of where they first started with them. I thought about that. I just, I think for me it's tough because there are some fish keepers out there that I know who could probably kind of point me in the right direction, but I have no idea what they kept in their fish tanks in the 50s. So it's kind of one of those. I imagine you'd have to have like a cold water setup because I know most guys weren't running heaters. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could do some white clouds. There's some really cool looking white clouds out there, something like that. So what cool water fish can you put in a 10-gallon? So yeah, we'll see. I do have a Metaframe lid, which is one of the things that's really, really hard to find with those Metaframe tanks is the lids that go with them. But it's been rewired, has like a big ballast on the back that I'm gonna have to redo because it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, we'll see. We'll come up with hopefully a good idea, or maybe I'll just have to listen to whatever my wife tells me and put whatever she tells me to put in there. So we'll see. um, Anyways, yes, fish food. Yeah, the biggest thing to me with fish food is just make sure you have a variety. And the closer you get to live, the better. The closer so whether that is using live baby brine shrimp, whether it's like, oh, fresh vegetables are great for a lot of fish. And there's all kinds of different vegetables you can use. You can use zucchinis and tomatoes and, potatoes and cucumber and all kinds of stuff. Some people will feed some like the leaves you can do, like different lettuce leaves. And I'd have to go back and look. 'Cause I don't do a lot of those, but that's another option for you with live food, as far as fresh foods and things like that. And yeah, the fresher it is, the more variety, the better off your fish look in the long run. So, all right, guys. Well, it is getting late for me. I don't think I have any other questions. If you guys do have any questions for me, you can always leave them in the bottom. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thank you for all the people who are checking out the channel. This is your first time here. Please, again, hit that subscribe button. Next Saturday, oh, you come to say bye?
Yeah.
Okay, you need to get to bed.
See ya.
All right, get to bed now.
Aw.
If you guys are interested in watching some more live streams, I'm going to be Travis just mentioned, I'm going to be doing a live stream with Travis from Trayfish Aquatics. We're going to be going live Saturday. I think we said 12 o'clock and yes, 12 o'clock. I'm remembering that correctly. So check out his channel if you haven't already been there before, and make sure that you check out our live stream. We're looking to do a Q&A. He's got a lot more subscribers, so hopefully we can do a Q&A there. And if not, I've got some questions that I've been thinking about that I know I would enjoy talking with Travis about, and kind of we bounce a lot of ideas off each other. So it'll be good. Even if you don't have any questions, you can come in and kind of listen to us and enjoy that with us. So thank you guys for watching and have a good one. Now I just have to figure out how to end a live stream. Oh, got it.